Let's start with a little bit of perspective, perhaps, for this conversation with our good friend. Welcome back to the show to both of our good friends. Doug Moore, reporter, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Your beat is diversity, correct? And that
right,
encompasses a few different things, but
does.
it's certainly pertinent to tonight's topic. And AJ Bockelman, Executive Director of Promo.
Correct.
I said Pride Month. Give us a little history. Why do we do Pride festivities? I think the word festivities almost goes hand in hand. Maybe didn't have a festive start. Why this time of year?
Right. It was born out of the Stonewall riots in New York in 1969. And it went from being a march. It basically brought people out of the bars and into the streets because the police had raided this bar. So it brought rioting, and it brought people out. And it's over the years, it has moved from, this sort of movement of anger to movement of pride, and showing that it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be a part of the LGBT community. And so since that occurred in June, Pride Fests across the country are typically held during the same month.
And for those who might not know, the Stonewall riots considered the beginning of the...
It was, of the movement, yeah, of the civil rights movement of the LGBT fight for equality.
So, okay, so it's, where are we today? Things have changed a lot just in the last 10 years, I would say.
Even just in the last 3 to 4 years, we've seen things move incredibly fast compared to what we've seen in other movements. Right now, as we tape this show, we're on the precipice of a possible Supreme Court decision that could allow marriage equality, yet we still lag behind in some other basic protections.
Let's stop right there. What would that mean if the Supreme Court decision comes down either way? What would you make of that? Is that a finish line? Is that a goal line that could be crossed, or is it lost some meaning in the larger picture?
I would say that it's actually it is an accomplishment. It's a mark in the movement to see marriage equality. Because if you go back even just 10 years ago, overwhelmingly in the state of Missouri, you had 72% of the population vote against marriage equality. Now, we've learned a lot in that movement. We don't talk about same-sex marriage. We don't talk about gay marriage. We know that it's just marriage. It's the same thing that our straight counterparts have. And today, yet, while we look at likely having marriage equality, and I cannot believe that we don't end up with a positive decision, because the alternative is stepping back in what we see in settled law. And effectively going forward, we still don't have basic protections. Right now, we're still going to be fighting a fight that if you are married on Sunday, you could be fired on Monday, because right now we don't have those protections throughout the state.
And I guess that's what I was trying to say there. Is it the goal line? There's so much more you would say to do. What does he mean by you could be fired on Monday?
Missouri is one of the states where there are no protections in place for those who are LGBT. So if you are gay or believed to be gay, your employer can say, I'm going to fire you, and for that reason alone.
You can't go to civil court in the state of Missouri.
You could, but there's no protection. There's no real legal recourse for you. And so that is, I believe, the sort of the next battle that we're going to see. I mean, a lot of spotlight is shined on same-sex marriage, and rightly so. I mean, that's something I think that was something that needed to be tackled. But yeah, I think now that this is out in the spotlight, it affords people such as AJ the opportunity to talk about how far we still have to go.
Is the tent perhaps bringing more people in the terms of whose equality people are fighting for? The president, I don't know if you saw this or not, but was recently interrupted by a heckler, and this person was arguing for, I believe, it was an immigration issue concerning
trans immigrants who are currently being detained, yes. It's all over the media right now. And unfortunately, one of the things that we always talk about, we talk about LGBT, and the reality is there's a broad spectrum of individuals within the LGBT community. And oftentimes, many of those identities are not necessarily seen out there as visibly. Bisexual community is not necessarily as visible in the broader spectrum. And the trans community has been organizing for decades, but you've not seen as many people visible and active in the community, and they're building a stronger voice. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of.
A lot of visibility on the entertainment networks in the last 60 days or so, 30 days. Has that been good?
It depends who you ask. I think in the long run it's good. I think that you can have a debate on Caitlyn Jenner and the value of that. I mean, there's some people within the community who thought that was exploitative of her to have been sort of put out there. Is this what the trans community wants to look like. Is this an example of the community? She's only getting the attention because she's a Kardashian. She's only getting attention because she's rich. But what about everybody else, the everyday folks? And will that help put them forward?
Time and again, that's part of the cycle that we see, that a celebrity comes forth, identifies as a member of the community, there's a lot of accolades, suddenly we think that people's minds and hearts are changed. The reality is, for the trans community, there are high rates of homelessness, high rates of unemployment, a lot of challenges that are faced by the community. And so having someone who's a big, bright, shining star, while there may be some ways in which it changes some perspectives, the reality for someone who identifies as trans, it can be very difficult.
Anything on the horizon at our state legislature that gives you hope for some of the issues? You talk about the discrimination of being fired on a Monday. I mean, I know there were some things that were brought up that did not pass this past legislative session. So
my organization, PROMO, we've advocated for basic protections. This is the Missouri Non-Discrimination Act. It's been introduced every year since roughly 1998. There was some version, it's changed a little bit over the years. It adds sexual orientation and gender identity to the Missouri Human Rights Statute. And over the last several years, we have seen the issue actually move. We've gotten into committees, we've gotten it voted out of committees, we actually even had a positive vote in the Senate. And in the Missouri Senate, we believe most of those votes are still there. In the Missouri House, we actually believe that we have a number of the votes there, but it's getting the political courage to actually have the vote taken and have a clean vote, because there's also an effort in the state to change the way in which you prove a case of discrimination, making it more difficult, and we have to be able to fight off that initiative, yet add basic protections based on sexual orientation and gender identity.
I don't want to ask you to be a political scientist, but I'm just curious, you know, the kind of the conservative element of libertarianism seems to be on the rise. And do you get any response from that into the political spectrum in terms of a person's right to do what they will with their own?
I would say in Jefferson City, there's really four to five different political spectrums within the Republican Party. You have a moderate voice that I think is actually growing, but they're overshadowed by three other voices: an evangelical, a Tea Party, and a libertarian. And oftentimes those three groups band together and get the disproportionate amount of media attention, overshadowing the moderate voices. I believe that we actually have a number of Republicans. Former Senator Kevin Engler, now in the State House, he actually was one of the shepherds of the marriage amendment back in 2004, yet he stands as one of our strongest supporters for basic protections. What changed for him is that his good family friend had a son who came out of the closet. He saw the challenges that the young man went through, and now he realizes that there are challenges for the LGBT community, and he would like to help correct that.
Doug, when might we see a Supreme Court decision?
Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. If not, probably Monday. It's going to happen in the next, it's imminent.
Gentlemen, thank you both for your time and for giving us some perspective to start this conversation tonight. I appreciate it very much. It is, as we've said a couple of times now, Pride Month, and there are sites and evidence of that all over town. We'll give you a look.